All right, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. And as you can see, the Angry Birds movie was just released here stateside. And, I was really ready to hate this movie, as I think a lot of people were, especially, it's a game to movie adaptation, and those 99% of the times turn out really bad. However, unlike the live action game to movies, the animated ones don't do quite as bad because, video games are not based upon reality to begin with anyway. And so it's a lot easier when you're translating this into either an animated feature or a CG animated feature. Now, before I get to Angry Birds, the movie review, I will let you know that within this review, I will be talking about spoilers. And so the very first half of the review, I'm not going to be giving away any spoilers, but after that, I will be talking about spoiler related material. But before I get into the actual review, I want to talk about the history of game characters. Okay, now for Angry Birds, it definitely had a moment in history, especially in mobile gaming. That thing just made mobile gaming explode, much like Pac Man did when it came out almost 40 years ago, 36 years ago. However, Pac Man was a phenomenon and is still remembered and known today as something historic. The same can be said for Mario. Mario, Luigi, all of these characters, they are all icons. They've been around a very long time and they are still much loved today. And also Sonic the Hedgehog as well. So it's characters like these that they have stood the test of time, in terms of gaming and in history. Um, I'm not sure where Angry Birds is gonna stand in history. I'm not sure yet, but after watching the movie, I think it's gonna have its place. Obviously the makers of Angry Birds, as anybody who keeps up with it, Rovio, the company, they haven't been able to duplicate the success that they had with Angry Birds. And that's hard to do. Especially nowadays where there's so many different games, there's so many things to take away people's attentions. So, with that being said, when I got into this movie, I wasn't expecting much. The only thing I was expecting was to hate it. However, from the very opening scene with our main character Red, and through all his, I guess would say his misadventures at the very beginning, where it sets you up like the game itself. I couldn't see how they could make a movie out of it, but at the very beginning of the movie, it actually acknowledges that and it shows you some things that are relevant to people who play the game. Such as him like shooting off into the air and having an egg and so forth. That makes a lot of sense, especially if you're used to playing the game. But from those opening moments on to the rest of the movie, one thing I would have to definitely say about this movie is it had character. Now, the actors and actresses behind this movie, they're very talented. Like the main actor, Jason Sudeikis, who does the voice of Red, great job. And you had other really fun characters, and really want to focus on characters. So Chuck, I can't remember who did his voice. Bomb, and Matilda, which is like a side character, but she plays a large role in the movie. And then you have the pigs, Leonard, Mighty Eagle, which I'll get into in my spoiler part, and Terrence. So I love the fact that the companies Sony and Rovio, they spent a lot of times focusing on the characters. This is a very story-driven animated feature, and I it was makes it that much better because it's very hard to make a story out of a very simple game. I mean, there really wasn't much to the game. It's just birds flying and trying to destroy these pigs and save their eggs. So not very much to it. But throughout the whole movie, I was really invested in the characters, and there is a lot of humor in this movie. One thing that's very surprising is like the level of adult humor, and so I'm gonna get into more details of that in the spoiler part, but there's a lot of adult humor in here, and some of it I think it's like kind of crossing the line, especially if you're bringing your very young kids there. I was actually really surprised. And then in terms of like the actual pacing of the movie, it's really good. You are interested from the moment that you watch the movie all the way to the end, even when you already know what's going to happen. It's very entertaining. It really is. And then in terms of like the animation, the companies did a great job with the animation. Now, Rovio actually has a Rovio animation studio that they set up along with Sony, so they work together on this. But the animation on this, I thought was done really well, very very high quality. And throughout this whole movie, it's like a story of somebody who's an outcast, who's angry, and there are reasons why this character's angry. And then it goes through the whole thing of like him finding friends, a friendship, them identifying who they are and also working together, and so there's a lot of really good themes on here. And like I said, there's really not a lot of complexity you could put into this game base movie, but the people who wrote this movie, they did a great job in doing that because they really really focused on the characters and not much else. As a matter of fact, the characters drove this movie from beginning to end, so very very enjoyable. Now, I do want to talk about the movie in full, and so it's hard to talk about this without getting into the spoilers. And so, this final warning, I'm gonna go into the spoiler section. So if you don't want to know what this movie's about or have not seen it, definitely go watch the movie, then come back. Okay. Now, let me just get into the spoilers right away. Red, this guy, he is great. As he shows in the movie, you understand why he's angry. He was basically an abandoned chick, don't know who his parents are. And then throughout his life as a child, he is made fun of because of his really angry eyebrows. And then as an adult, he doesn't really get any respect. All the other birds don't like him, or they don't understand him. But then again, he doesn't like anybody else. And it isn't until that he's put into this anger management program by the chief bird or owl that all these adventures start. And that's where he meets Chuck, who is a really, really fast character. I'm not sure what type of bird he is. And then Bomb, who is just a lovable character who just blows himself up. And then you also meet Terrence right here at the bottom, who doesn't say much except grunts. And until the end of the movie, and this is so funny because Terrence is actually voiced by Sean Penn, and he's known as an angry person, which is funny, and they knew that. And so that was very good. And then you have the total legend, the Mighty Eagle. And I didn't really get this character because they talk a lot about him or actually show him at the beginning. He's like this basically god, and then when you finally meet him, when he's voiced by Peter Dinklage, this is where the adult humor is just like went over the line, because when you first quote unquote meet this Mighty Eagle, he is relieving himself or taking a leak onto this river. And that is really, really shocking that they would show that in a kid's animated movie. And even the writers or the characters themselves acknowledge that it's shocking, and they even show that. And so that was kind of surprising that they did that, okay? And then whenever Leonard, the pigs, come into the scene, voiced by Bill Hader. That's where things, get a little bit more interesting. I thought they were very lovable, and they add a lot of the game elements in there, with the trampolines, with the dynamite, the TNT. All those things come into play and how they take over this village and basically destroy it and take all the eggs. And from there, there's a lot of scenes at the end, where it has it's all about the Angry Birds game where they're all shooting themselves with a slingshot, hitting buildings. But it just gets really, really fun. And then, Mighty Eagle comes and helps save the day, as it were. And I really enjoyed this movie. I really don't know how to say it. I love the characters in this movie. They're very lovable. Bomb, I like them, but my favorite character, I would have to say, is Chuck. I mean, he's just funny. Now, there is one scene in there where it's really adultish, where they were talking about how they're going to, after the eggs were stolen, how they're going to actually make more eggs, and he's basically offering to repopulate the whole island. So, very adult comedy, very surprising. But overall, I really, really enjoyed the Angry Birds movie. I think it's a wonderful movie. Like I said, there is some adult-related stuff on there, but the humor on it, it's fun. It's really funny. And once again, I was really, really surprised that this turned out as well as it did. Very fun movie, great animation, very character story driven, and I would definitely say it's much better than the recently released Ratchet and Clank. So if you have not seen this movie, go check it out. And if you have seen this movie, I would like to know your thoughts. And so you could send me your thoughts either through Snapchat, if you are on Snapchat, or you could leave it in the comments area below. So thanks for watching this episode, and we'll see you on another one. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.